وهبني لابتداء كرمك وصالح برك بي يا إلهي وسيدي وربي. أتراك مهذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق طرافي ودعائي خاض لربوبيتك هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدة وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادق وبشكرك مادها وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارها صعد إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذنية ما هكذا بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم. يا ربي وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكسور يسير بقاء كثير مدته فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستقيم. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي لي الأمور عليك أشكو ولما منها أزج وأبكي لأن العذاب وشدة عمل طول البلاء ومدته فلئن سيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني. صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي أفوك أفوك أفوك. فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لن تركتني ناتك لا زجن عليك بين أهلها دجيج العاملين ولا أصرخن عليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولو نادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية أعمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يزج عليك زجيج معمل رحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل عليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك ورأفتك ورحمتك أم كيف تؤلمه النار ويعمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوتها وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه أم كيف تجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت بالموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين يقتل أولى ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهديك وقضيت به من إخلاد موانديك لجلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مكرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين أن تخلد فيها المواندين وأن تجل ثناؤك وقلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته وأظهرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباته الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره وكنت أنت رقيب علي من ورائهم وشاهد لما خفي عنهم وبرحمتك أخفيته وبفضلك سترته وأن توفر هذي من كل خير أنزلته أو إحسان فضلته أو بر نشرته أو رزق بسطته أو ذنب تغفره أو خطايا تستره يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك ركي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورا وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي يا من عليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قوي على خدمتك جواره واشدد على العزيمة جوانه وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى إسراها عليك في ميعاد السابقين وأسرع عليك في المبادرين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين وخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فارده ومن كادني فكده واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وخصهم زلفة لديك فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك واتف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك وجل لساني بذكرك ولهجن قلبي وبحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وكلني أسرتي واغفر لي زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فعليك يا ربي من نصبت وجهي وعليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا دعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم الرأس ما عليه الرجاء وسلاه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النكم يا نور المستوشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بما نحن أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أسألك باسمك العظيم العظم العز العجل الأكرم بحق محمد أنت المحمود اللهم بحق علي أنت الأعلى اللهم بحق فاطمة الزهراء أنت فاطر السماوات والأرض اللهم بحق الحسن أنت المحسن اللهم بحق الحسين أنت قديم الإحسان يا قاضي الحاجات اقضي حاجات المؤمنين والمؤمنات يا شافي الأمراض شمردان المؤمنين والمؤمنات يا شافي الأمراض شمردان المؤمنين والمؤمنات المخصوصين يا رازق زيادة في الرزق بركة في الرزق صحة في الجسم توبة قبل الموت مغفرة بعد الموت نجاة من النار دخول في الجنة عافية في الدنيا والآخرة يا أرحم الراحمين أنت مولانا يصرف يا مولاي ينصر الجيوش الفلسطيني يا الله اللهم ينصر جيوش المسلمين يا الله اللهم دافع بقوتك عن الغزا دافع عنه اللهم خلص من أيدي اليهود اللهم ينصر المؤمنين والمؤمنات نحي العالم اللهم يحفظهم بحق محمد وآل محمد ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم آمين آمين يا رب العالمين رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات خصوصا sponsor of the tonight بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له اللهم صل على محمد
Kubaku, 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 jera jera, jera jera, jera jera, jera jera, jera jera lida ubetane, io jera jera lida ubetane, ona jannat dona حقدار نہیں لونارا علیدہ کوبکو لونارا علیدہ نارا علیدہ یعنی حق دے ولیدہ کوبکو لونارا علیدہ حق دے امام علی نائد رسول حق دے امام علی نائد رسول بابا حسین علی شہد بھی اس بطول کبھی دے اشاہ علی زینت
اور محمد آل محمد صلوات اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجہم علی کی بات کرو زندگی کی بات کرو علی کی بات کرو زندگی کی بات کرو علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو علی کی بات کرو زندگی کی بات کرو
علی بغیر کوئی ہم کو تو جچا ہی نہیں، علی بغیر کوئی ہم کو تو جچا ہی نہیں، جہاں گئے ہے کہا بس اسی کی بات کرو، علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو، علی کی بات کرو، زندگی کی بات کرو، علم کا شہر ہے در کون ہے بتاؤ ذرا، علم کا شہر کا در کون ہے بتاؤ ذرا، اندھیرے چھوڑ کے اب روشنی کی بات کرو، علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو، علی کی بات کرو، زندگی کی بات کرو، ہو جنگ کوئی بھی اسلام کی تو کون لڑا، ہو جنگ کوئی بھی اسلام کی تو کون لڑا، جو بھاگتے تھے نہ ان گیدڑوں کی بات کرو، علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو، علی کی بات کرو، زندگی کی بات کرو، اور خم غدیر پہ اعلان وہ ولایت کا، غدیر خم پہ وہ اعلان وہ ولایت کا، نبی کی بات کرو، اس گھڑی کی بات کرو، علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو، علی کی بات کرو، زندگی کی بات کرو، اور ضیاء قلم نے کہا لکھنے کو بہت ہے مگر، ضیاء قلم نے کہا لکھنے کو بہت ہے مگر، سبھی کو چھوڑ کے شیر جلی کی بات کرو، علی بغیر کسی اور کی نہ بات کرو، علی کی بات کرو، زندگی کی بات کرو، اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد وعجل فرجہ۔ کی وجہ سے بس تو کیا ہوا؟
tell them to just close the doors and then come inside. If it follows him, then tell him to go outside, let the dog go outside, and then shut the gate and come in. Where is it tonight? कुछ पढ़ेंगे? वालेकुम सलाम। पसंद है? नहीं अभी शुरू करने वाला था, अब आगे लोग भी बाहर हैं।
हाँ, बाहर से दरवाज़ा बंद है। محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم اللہم صلی علی محمد وآل میں چاہوں گا کہ وہ جو ابھی ریسنٹلی پارا چنار میں جو لوگ شہید ہوئے ہیں ان کے اس سلسلے میں ایک سورہ فاتحہ پڑھ دیں۔ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد۔ اسی کی مناسبت سے ایک کلام کا چند اشعار پیش کروں گا۔ فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، تازگی ہے گلستان میں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، سبز و خرم دشت دنیا ہے تمہارے غم میں گریاں، بلبل شاہ ہے گلستان رو رو کے کہتے ہیں یہ غران، میرے پھولوں میرے گلچوں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو، چل کے راہیں
حق پہ تم نے کام ایسا کر دکھایا، شہدائے کربلا سے اپنے وعدے کو نبھایا۔ اے جوانوں عہد سازوں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ اور پرسدارے کربلا تھے، رونق فرش عزا تھے، ارے عاشق خاک کے شفا تھے، ساجد رب اولا تھے۔ شاہدی پر رونے والوں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ اور تم جلوسوں میں عزا کے چلنے والے آگے آگے، سوگواروں کو بچا کر سہ گئے خود بم دھماکے۔ راہ حق کے جان ساروں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ اور تم موازن، تم مصلی، قلب مومن کی تسلی، تم دعائیں سیدہ کی ہر زمانے میں تجلی، عصمتوں کے پاسداروں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ فصل گل ہے اب جہاں میں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ فصل گل ہے اس جہاں میں، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ آخری شعر۔ بن تمہارے کیا بہاریں، کیسے نغمے کیا ترانے، چشم نم ہے لب پہ آہیں، ہم ملیں گے کب نہ جانے، پاس اپنے اب بلا لو، اے شہیدوں تم کہاں ہو؟ پاس اپنے अब बुला लो ऐ शहीदों तुम कहाँ हो। फसल गुल है अब जहाँ में ऐ शहीदों तुम कहाँ हो। ताज़गी है गुलस्तां में ऐ शहीदों तुम कहाँ हो। मोहम्मद आल मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन व आले। बहुत शुक्रिया, बहुत शुक्रिया।
Please, brothers and sisters, before we begin, recite Surah Fatiha for the Shuhada of Parachinar and for the marhumin whose names are on the wall in the back, and specifically and especially for the father of the Mehdi brothers. Bismillah. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسكنهم بجوار محمد صلى الله على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعمه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون الذي لا يدركه بحث الهمم ولا يناله غوث الفتن الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نات موجود ولا وقت محدود ولا أجل ممدود فترى الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالسخر ميدان أرض. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا أن تصيبوا قوما بجهالة فتصبحوا على ما فعلتم نادمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. This verse 6 of Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. First and foremost, He is speaking to those people, those individuals that believe. A lot of the times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, Ya ayyuhan nas. There are places in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to nas jami'an, meaning He's talking to mankind as a whole. And there are places in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's specifically speaking to the mu'mineen. And this is one of those verses in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is specifically speaking to the mu'mineen. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu. O you who believe. He goes on to say, In ja'akum fasiqun. If a fasiq, if an evildoer comes to you with a report, don't just accept it. But what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say to do? He says, look carefully into that report. Look carefully into what this individual is saying, what this individual has bought. Why? Look carefully into it, lest you harm people out of ignorance, and repent for your actions later. One of the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants people to look into reports is why? The verse explains it. If you quickly accept the report of a fasiq, you might do it and not realize that you're actually hurting other individuals. You're actually hurting other individuals. And I'm using this as a topic tonight. Why? Because you see that in Islam, in Islam, in the past, when the narrations were being advertised, when the narrations were coming out, you had every type of individual repeat narrations. Every type of individual. Didn't matter what their akhlaq was, didn't matter how they were, but because they sat with the Holy Prophet, they stood with the Holy Prophet, they saw the Holy Prophet, they ate with the Holy Prophet, the Muslims, they took everything they said to be truthful. And because of that, 1400 years later, today, Muslims are what? Disillusioned. Muslims are not united. Why? Because 1400 years before, every single individual that looked at the Prophet was considered to be a companion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this verse, when a fasiq comes to you with news, you're supposed to look carefully into it. If they did not look carefully into it 1400 years ago, then the news that we have from those individuals based on this verse, then we have to look carefully into that news. Why? Because in this era that we live in, we've seen in our own lifetime what false news does. In our own lifetime, we've seen exactly what false news does. What do I mean? In our own lifetime, countries have gone to war against other countries based on false news. False news. People have fought others based on false news. That's it. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants everyone, when a fasiq, and this too, when a fasiq comes to you with news, it becomes necessary for you to look into it. Look into it. And the reason for the revelation of this verse is that in the time of the Holy Prophet, he sent Walid ibn Aqba to go collect zakat from the tribe of Banu Mustalik. And then he told them to come back to Medina. Walid, when he goes and he gets there, is towards Yemen. When he gets there, he sees that the tribe has come towards him. And at that time, that tribe and Walid and his tribe did not get along. When that tribe came out, Walid, he runs back towards Medina and he tells the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, these people, they have become apostates, meaning that they've left Islam. They didn't want to pay zakat. They didn't want to pay zakat. The Holy Prophet, he gets astonished. He's like, why wouldn't they want to pay zakat? They're Muslims. They're Muslims. But it so happened that some of the people from that tribe also came behind Walid. When they came behind Walid, the Holy Prophet asked them, well, what is this that he's telling us? They tell him, Ya Rasulullah, we came out to greet him. We came out to greet him. But as soon as he saw us, he came running back to you. We wanted and we followed him to make sure that he's telling you the truth. We followed to make sure that he's telling you the truth. The zakat is ready. The zakat is ready. Send someone and tell him to collect the zakat. Send someone. The Holy Prophet, he sends another individual to collect the zakat. That individual, when he gets there, he says that it was time for prayer. The azan was happening. They prayed. I collected the zakat and I came back. And that's when this verse was revealed, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya ayyuhal lazina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in. Oh, you believe, if a fasiq comes to you with news, then look carefully into it. Look carefully into it. Why? Because if the Holy Prophet was to take Walid's word, what would have happened? What would have happened? If the Holy Prophet wasn't to look into what Walid was saying, and he was just to take his word, what would have happened? War would have happened. War would have happened. The Holy Prophet shows us that you don't take the word of every single individual that comes to you. You don't just accept the word of every single individual that comes to you. One of these individuals that everyone needs to look into is that individual who narrated over 5,000 narrations of the Holy Prophet. 5,000 narrations of the Holy Prophet. Who is that? The father of kittens, Abu Hurairah. Over 5,000 narrations of the Holy Prophet. You take the narrations that were narrated by Abu Bakr, the narrations that were narrated by Umar, the narrations that were narrated by Amir al-Mu'mineen, the narrations that were narrated by Usman. You take the narrations that were narrated by all four of these Khalifas, they don't even amount to half of the narrations that were narrated by Abu Hurairah. They don't even amount to half. The Muslims need to ask themselves this question: how is it possible that those individuals that spent their whole life with the Holy Prophet, their whole life, Amir al-Mu'mineen, from when he was a child until the Holy Prophet passed away, 30 years, these individuals, they spent 30 years with the Holy Prophet, yet they don't have 5,000 narrations. But that individual, who their own sources say was illiterate, who their own sources say that he could not read or could not write, he has 5,000 narrations, over 5,000 narrations from the Holy Prophet. How many years was he with the Holy Prophet? Do you all know? If you look into history, some of the historical books, they say that no more than 3 years. And some of the other historical books, they said that it wasn't even 3 years. Most of that time was spent away from the Holy Prophet. So if he was spent away from the Holy Prophet, how does he have 5,000 narrations that come from the Holy Prophet? And you look at the type of narrations that Abu Hurairah has narrated. For example, one of the narrations that became famous in the time of Muawiyah, and this was the individual in the time of Abu Bakr, in the time of the Holy Prophet, he was absolutely a nobody. He was a nobody. He came in the last years of the Holy Prophet's life, and the narrations themselves, when you look at his history, they say that he was from Yemen. He came from a tribe of Jews. He converted to Islam, and he came to the Holy Prophet. He came to Medina when? Either the 7th year of Hijrah, the 8th year of Hijrah. The last couple of years of the Holy Prophet's life. But he was poor and he was destitute. Where was he living? Did he have a house to live in? No, he did not. He did not have a house to live in. There were basically little rooms that were built around the masjid. And that's where the poor people, they would be living. Anyone that did not have family, anyone that could not afford a house, they would be living in those rooms that were built around the masjid. Abu Hurairah, he used to live in one of those. He himself, he says, the only reason I followed the Prophet was for food. The only reason I followed the Prophet was for food. That was it. It wasn't for knowledge. If it was for knowledge, he would have said, I followed the Prophet for knowledge. No, it wasn't. He himself, he said, the only reason I would follow the Prophet was for food. You tell me, someone who accepts Islam just for food and not because they truly believe in the tenets of Islam, do you think tomorrow their deen cannot be bought? Their religion cannot be bought? If you accept a view, not because the view is true, but because this view you can accumulate some worldly benefit from it, what's going to happen? Your iman will be bought. Your religion will be bought. And that's exactly what happened with him. That's exactly what happened with him. In the Holy Prophet's time, he was poor, he was destitute, he was a nobody. In Abu Bakr's time, no one paid him attention. In Umar's time, he was spreading such hadiths that Umar himself, he beat him. He beat him. And he told them that if you say anything else regarding the Holy Prophet's hadith, I'll beat you more. 1, 2, when it came to him, they say that in Umar's time, he made him a governor of Bahrain for only 2 years. He was only governor for no more than 2 years. The people, they complained to Umar saying that he's hoarding wealth of the Muslimin. In the Holy Prophet's time, he was what? Poor. In Abu Bakr's time, he was poor. Nothing. No income. Nothing. In Umar's time, when he became the governor of Bahrain, he has money on top of money. Horses on top of horses. Sheep on top of sheep. The people, they complain to Umar. Umar, he calls him back. He calls him back and he tells them that when you left here, you had absolutely nothing. How did you accumulate 10,000 dinar? How did you accumulate all these horses? How did you accumulate all of these cattle? What does he say? The 10,000 dinar, it was through business. The horses, I had 1 or 2 horses. What did they do? They reproduced. The sheep, I had 1 sheep, 2 sheep, they reproduced. And now I have this many. Umar, he literally beat him and he forced him to give up the 10,000 dinars. And you have the Muslims, they say what? That the companion of the Holy Prophet, they all loved each other. They all loved each other. They're all perfectly fine. There was no fights, no nothing. The second Khalifa is beating Abu Huraira. But what type of narrations would Abu Huraira in the time of Muawiyah? That's when his narrations became vast, and that's when his narrations became within the Islamic society. What type of narrations was he saying? For example, one of the narrations that became famous was, he says that Jibreel or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen 3 people to safeguard revelation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen 3 individuals to safeguard revelation. The first is me, the second is Jibreel, and the third is Muawiyah. The first is me, Jibreel, and Muawiyah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could not find any other better individuals. Abu Huraira, who became a Muslim after Khaybar, he's a guardian of revelation. What happened to all the revelations that were revealed to the Holy Prophet before he became Muslim? Who was guarding that? Muawiyah, he's a guardian of revelation when he fought against the Holy Prophet. You have other narrations that he recited, claiming to be from the Holy Prophet. One of the most famous narrations was regarding onions. Regarding onions. He had onions, he was selling onions apparently, and no one was buying his onions. And when no one was buying his onions, he made up a narration saying, whoever eats the onions of Medina, it will be good for them. The people then believed that this was a narration from the Holy Prophet. What did they start doing? They started buying onions. For what? Worldly benefit. What did he do? Make up a narration. Make up a narration. If the Muslims at that time practiced and adhered to this verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if a fasiq comes to you with news, then look into it. Today, the Muslims 1400 years would not take everything Abu Huraira says as gospel. Everything he says as true, it came out from the mouth of the Holy Prophet. What was he doing in the time of Muawiyah? He sent Abu Huraira and he sent another person to Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he told both of them that I want you to go to Amir al-Mu'mineen and I want you to tell him that the killers of Uthman ibn Affan, send them to me and I'll take care of them. I'm going to kill them. If he doesn't do it, good, and the war will be over, no bloodshed will happen. But if he doesn't do it, I want you two to come back and I want you two to tell the people here in Sham what Ali said. Abu Huraira, he goes with the other individual, and when they get to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Abu Huraira, he's the first one to talk to Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, Ya Ali, this is what, you're the cousin of the Holy Prophet, you're this, you're that, but your cousin Muawiyah, he is saying what? He is saying to give us the killers of Uthman and he will take revenge. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he doesn't even pay him any attention. He asks the other person who he is and what he knows about, meaning Amir al-Mu'mineen, what he knows Amir al-Mu'mineen. He tells Amir al-Mu'minin, Ya Ali, my heart's with you, but he's forced me to come here for this reason. He's forced me to come to you for this reason. The narration, the history says that that man, that second individual, he stayed with Amir al-Mu'minin Abu Hurairah. He went back to Muawiyah and he told Muawiyah exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. When it came to the battle of Siffin, this was a battle against who? Amir al-Mu'minin and Muawiyah al-Alayh. Who was the individual who spread lies regarding this battle? It was this man. To prevent people from going into the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen. What did he say? He says, I heard from my own ears the Holy Prophet saying that after me there would be strife, there would be fitna. There would be war. There would be war. It's better to sit than to stand. It's better to stand than to run. Meaning what? Do nothing, stay at home. To prevent people from siding with Amir al-Mu'mineen. These are the types of narrations that this individual was spreading in the time of Muawiyah al-Alayh. When it comes to gossiping, when it comes to lying, you see that these two traits, the people that have these two traits, these individuals, when you say something about them, what happens? They're the ones that get defensive really quickly. When you tell them, hey, I heard you say this, what do they say? No, I swear to God, I never said that. The first thing they do is swear. And this happens a lot of time. When an individual, they get caught in a lie, what do they say? What do they do? I swear to God, I never said that. I swear to God, I never did that. When they finally get caught, the first thing they resort to is swearing God. Swearing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that too, a false oath. These are those individuals who've taken the status of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that low, where they're swearing to Allah, using Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name in a way that belittles His status. When it comes to swearing, when it comes to oaths, the narrations, they state that even if you're truthful in your claim, it's makruh to say, I swear to God. Even if you're truthful, it's makruh. But does that mean that's haram? No. But does that mean that you should never do it? No, there come instances in your life where you have to do it. That makruh gets lifted and becomes wajib for you to do. Normally it's makruh, but there might come instances in your life where you have to do it. When you have to do it, for example, to save your life. For example, to save your dignity. If it becomes necessary, then you do it for these types of reasons. But other than that, the narrations, they say that it is makruh. These are the individuals that swear to God for over the smallest of things. For over the smallest. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When you look at the majority of narrations that came from Abu Hurairah, they were, most of them, 95% of them, they were pro-Banu Umayyah narrations. Even narrations or even hadiths that had to do with Amir al-Mu'mineen were attributed to Uthman ibn Affan. One narration from Abu Hurairah. But even Sunni Ahl Hadith, they say this narration, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. The narration of Abu Hurairah, he says that one day, heaven and hell, they were debating each other to see who is greater. Hell, it says to heaven, I'm greater than you. Why? Because I have the pharaohs that are here. I have the liars that are here. I have the fasiqeen, I have all these evil people, I'm greater than you. Heaven, it says what? The narration, this is the narration. The heaven, it says quiet. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells heaven to tell hell that I'm greater than you. Why? Because I have Abu Bakr here. Because I have Abu Bakr in heaven. How does that make sense? The Holy Prophet is there, but no, heaven isn't better than hell because the Holy Prophet's there. 124,000 prophets are in heaven. Heaven is not better because all these 124,000 prophets are in heaven, but heaven is better than hell because Abu Bakr is in heaven. The awliya, the awsiya, they're all in heaven. But no, heaven is better than hell because Abu Bakr is in heaven. Is he not? On the day of judgment, that's when we will find out. But even in this world, we all know that the prophets, they're all in heaven. These were the types of narrations that this individual was spreading. And because he was spreading these types of narrations in Umar's time, he beat him senseless. He beat him senseless, he made him bleed. Everyone knows in Umar's time, he used to carry a whip, he used to carry a stick with him, a rod. He beat him with that rod, and the narration state that it started bleeding. He started bleeding. Why? Because he was saying these types of narrations. He even beat him saying that I've never reported this amount of narrations about the Holy Prophet. Abu Bakr never reported this amount of narrations. None of the other companions reported this amount of narrations. Why are you making up narrations? So that means that in Umar's time, people already knew, or the greater companion of the Holy Prophet, they knew that this individual is making up narrations. This individual is making up narrations. And you see that today, majority of Muslims, whose narrations have they held on to? Abu Hurairah's narrations. Abu Hurairah. Someone who was with the Holy Prophet for no more than 2 or 3 years. He has over 5,000 narrations. Over 5,000 narrations. From Imam Ali, less than 600. From Abu Bakr, less than 600. From Umar, less than 600. Less than 600. But from him, over 5,000. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that is the one who is a believer like the one who's a disbeliever, like the one who's a transgressor, fasiqun, like the one who is a fasiq. They are not equal. They're not equal. A believer and a fasiq, they're not equal. The previous verse in Surah Al-Hujurat, it talked about what? Naba' of a fasiq. What a fasiq brings to you. The news that a fasiq brings to you. This verse is saying that a believer and a fasiq are not the same. They're not equal. They're not equal at all. Who was this verse revealed for? This verse was revealed for that same individual that Surah Al-Hujurat, that verse of Surah Al-Hujurat was revealed for. Walid. The same individual. And the Mufassirin, they all say, Mu'min here is Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Fasiq here is Walid. Walid. Yet they left Amir al-Mu'mineen, who their own Mufassirin say regarding this verse is Mu'min. And they took the word of Fasiqeen. Fasiqeen. When it comes to this individual, Walid ibn Aqba, you have to remember that he is the son of Aqba. This individual in the time of the Holy Prophet, when he was in Mecca, one of the things this individual did was Walid's father. What he did was, the Holy Prophet, he was praying in front of the Kaaba. And he comes with the innards of a camel. He comes with all the guts of a camel. And as the Holy Prophet went down for sajda, he throws all of that on top of the Holy Prophet. He throws it all on top of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet, about his father, Walid's father, the Holy Prophet said that if I ever find you outside the precincts of the Kaaba, I will take revenge for everything that you have done. Everything that you have done. The Holy Prophet there isn't a narration, I haven't come across a narration where the Holy Prophet threatened an individual in this manner. Where the Holy Prophet threatened an individual in this manner, where he says that outside the precincts of Kaaba, if I ever find you, I will do or I will take revenge for everything that you have done. For no other individual. But for who? But for the father of Walid. Father of Walid. And the narrations, they say that in the battle of Badr, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he ended up fighting him out in the battlefield. Amir al-Mu'mineen was the one who beheaded him. Amir al-Mu'mineen was the one who beheaded this individual. The enemy of Islam was the father. The enemy of Islam was this person. The enemy of Islam was this individual's son. So you kind of understand, or you begin to understand, that the majority of Muslims, they started taking Islam from the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. From the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They left the Ahlul Bayt, they took their religion from the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. This is the reason Islam is where it's at. But inshallah, the appearance of the weighted one, it'll take Islam back to the right course. And it's not as if we Shias are doing everything that Amir al-Mu'mineen was doing in his time. We Shias are not, it's not as if we Shias are doing everything Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam was doing in his time. No. You have to understand that there have been things that were added into the religion. There have been things that have been added into Islam altogether. The individual that's going to make everyone understand what was added and what is Khalis Islam, pure Islam, is going to be the 12th Imam. If whatever we're doing, if one of the acts that we as Shias are doing, the 12th Imam does not accept, what does it tell you about that act or that action? It's bid'ah, there's no reason for us to do it. If we're doing it, it becomes necessary for us to stop. If there's an act or action that we're not doing, and the Imam comes and says, hey, you know what, this action you should do, then what does that mean? That means that that act, that action, it's beneficial for us to do. It's beneficial for us to do. So to say that we Shias, we have Khalis Islam, pure Islam. No, there have been things that have been added into it. There have been things that have been added into it. And that the 12th Imam is going to tell us which things are detrimental to us, which things are beneficial to us. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. When it came to these individuals, one of the first fitnas that happened right after the Holy Prophet, or after the Holy Prophet passed away, yes, I understand about Abu Bakr, I understand about Umar, I understand all that. But one of the major fitnas that happened was the death of Uthman ibn Affan. And when it came to the death of the murder of Uthman ibn Affan, you realize that it wasn't Amir al-Mu'mineen who had him murdered. Amir al-Mu'mineen was trying to protect him. But does that mean, just because Amir al-Mu'mineen was trying to protect Uthman, does that mean that Uthman was right in doing what he was doing? No, he wasn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Amir al-Mu'mineen was trying to, you pick up history books. When they stopped water from reaching Uthman's house, who was it? Who was it that came out with his sons and told the people that what you're doing is absolutely wrong? Get him water. Amir al-Mu'mineen. It was Imam Ali alayhi salam. But does that mean that Uthman was right? No, it doesn't. If an individual is thirsty, even if a kafir is thirsty, if a kafir is thirsty and I'm there and I have water, it becomes necessary for me to save that kafir's life by giving him water. But just because I give him water, does that mean that his aqeedah is correct? No, it doesn't. It just shows everyone my humanity, that's it. That's what Amir al-Mu'mineen was doing, showing the people his humanity. That does not mean that Uthman was correct. But this was one of the incidents where the Muslims themselves, they gathered together and they killed the Khalifa. Who was it that gathered together? Were there Majus? Were they Majus? No, they weren't Majus. This is what happens in Islam when a Muslim killed another Muslim back in the Holy Prophet's time or back in the early days of Islam. What did the Muslims say? Oh, this individual was Majus. Like they did to Abu Lulu. Majus. Were the killers of Uthman Majus? No, they weren't. Were they Yahudi? No, they weren't. Were they kafir? No, they weren't. What were they? Muslim. Not just Muslim, but they were the companion of the Holy Prophet. They were companion of the Holy Prophet. So where did Muslims get this idea that all the companions, they were all friends and there was nothing, there was no animosity between them? Where did this come from? This idea that all the companions of the Holy Prophet, all they cared about was the afterlife. They didn't care about the worldly matters. Where did this come from? Tell me who cared more about the afterlife, the Muslims that killed Uthman or Uthman? Who cared more about that? The Khalifa that was killed or the people that killed the Khalifa? The people that killed that Khalifa killed him saying what? That he's deviated from Islam. The Khalifa was saying what? No, I'm still following the Sunnah. I'm still in the path of Islam. This is what Muslims do not, these are the types of questions that Muslims do not want to ask themselves. Why? Because as soon as they do, the thought that they've been grown on, the thought that they've been raised on, it starts to fall apart. It starts to fall apart. It was just a difference of opinion. A difference of opinion. Whenever it came to these types of subjects or issues, a difference of opinion. Jamal, a difference of opinion. That difference of opinion killed 50, 60,000 individuals. 40 to 60,000 individuals. That difference of opinion. The Battle of Jamal. When, after the Battle of Jamal, some of the narrations, they say that there was a lady who had nothing but the love of Amir al-Mu'mineen in her heart. When Aisha, she came back to Medina, this lady, she goes to Aisha and she asks her, "O mother of the believers," she's a lover of Amir al-Mu'mineen, a lover of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And she goes to her and she says to Aisha, "O mother of believers, can I ask you a few questions?" And she goes, "Yes, what is it? What is the punishment for the sons that are disobedient to their mother?" And she gives her the reply. And then this lady, she asks Aisha, "What is the punishment of the mother who gets her kids killed for absolutely no good reason at all?" That's when Aisha, she gets angry at her because she knew exactly what she was trying to say. That Aisha had 40, if Aisha is the mother of believers, then she had 40,000 believers killed, even though she knew she was in the wrong. Aisha, she gets mad at this lady, she curses at her and tells her to leave her sight. Tells her to leave her sight. But this is exactly what the Muslims are saying. It was a difference of opinion. Amir al-Mu'mineen against Muawiyah, a difference of opinion. Amir al-Mu'mineen against Aisha, a difference of opinion. Amir al-Mu'mineen Nahrawan, difference of opinion. Wherever Amir al-Mu'mineen fought, wherever the Ahlul Bayt fought, difference of opinion. For us Shias, it's clear cut. You have Iman on one side, Kufr on the other. Imam Hussein, Yazid, a difference of opinion. In history, whenever individuals came out against Ahlul Bayt, you have one side that says, no, it was just a difference of opinion. And today, to this day, you see that those individuals, they say the same thing. They say the same thing. This is why it becomes important for us to go back, and this is what Ilm Rijal is all about. Ilm Rijal, it goes back and it analyzes the lives of all of these narrators to see which narrators were truthful, which narrators were liars. And this is what the ulama, the maraja do before they come out with a fatwa. They look at the narration, the narrators, and then they use that narration if it's applicable. If they find even one narrator that they find to be a liar, then they write that this individual is considered to be a liar. So they don't use that narration. And there's some narrations that come from one individual. There are some narrations that are mutawatir, that come from many individuals. But there are some narrations that come from only and only one individual. And this is where some of the ulama, they have a debate. Can you accept a narration that only comes from one individual? Some of them, they say no, because you need two witnesses. At the very least, you need two witnesses for something. Others, they say no, there's no problem with accepting the narration even if it comes from one individual, as long as that individual is not considered to be fasiq. If that individual is considered to be a mu'min, there's nothing wrong with accepting. There's this debate that goes on within Islamic circles about whether or not you can accept the khabar of one individual, the narration of that's only been narrated by one individual. And this is where that debate is. Where you have narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala. And the sad part today is that within Shia Islam, those companions of, for example, the fifth Imam, the fourth Imam, the sixth Imam, that have always been considered to be thiqah, that have always been considered to be truthful. Today, you have new students that come out and they say, no, you know what, this individual, Fulan person said this individual is not considered to be reliable. One person says this individual is not considered to be reliable, but you have 100 other individuals that say that he is. Whose word are you going to take? Are you going to take the word of that one individual, or the 100 others that said that this person is reliable? Today, within Shia Islam, people are doing what? Questioning, for example, Hadith Kisa. Questioning, for example, Ziyarat Ashura. Questioning, for example, all of these other du'as that we have. Questioning the du'as. For example, Dua Tawassul. Inshallah, we'll do a lecture on Dua Tawassul because this has become a huge problem nowadays. One of the criticisms is that how this dua was taught by the Imams. Is the Imam or the Imams using their own name in this way in a third form? This is the way the Imams are doing dua? That doesn't make any sense. Isn't that arrogance? Inshallah, one of these days we'll talk about Dua Tawassul. Because nowadays, these ideas that are coming, these ideas aren't new. These existed 60, 70 years ago. But what's happened? Students now are bringing these ideas back. It's not that these ideas are new. Am I saying that you shouldn't look into you shouldn't look into dua? No, I'm not saying that. You shouldn't look into ziyarat. I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. But from our oldest ulama, to the eldest ones that are alive today, when they accept it, when they have always accepted it, and when the ones that are at the highest standard of Shia Islam, when they accept it, why should we reject all of them and take the word of one or two obscure ulama that come out and question this? Why should we reject everything that has been said, everything that they've said, and come out and accept the word of one or two obscure ulama that come and question this? If you don't understand, just say you don't understand. But when you teach your students that yes, dua tawassul, for example, is not right, it's not correct. Why? Because the Imam would not use his own name like this. The Imam would not use his own name like this to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Zaman is using himself as wasila. Imam Zaman. If you look into the history of dua tawassul, for example, it says that Imam Zaman alayhi salam, he taught an individual to do dua this way. There's a difference between Imam using that dua himself and Imam teaching another individual to pray like this. Just because Imam alayhi salam, he's teaching another individual to do dua like this, does that mean that the Imam has to do dua the same way? It doesn't mean that the Imam has to do dua the same way. For example, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he asked one of his companions, he came to the Imam and he wanted a dua for sustenance. He wanted a dua for sustenance. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he gave him a zikr to recite. He takes that zikr and he recites it for a year. He comes back to the Imam and he tells the Imam, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, I've been reciting this zikr for a year, but nothing has happened. Imam, he says to him, okay, now you're ready for the next step. Which is the next zikr, the next dua that you need to do. So what does this mean? What do you get from this narration? What you understand from this narration is that there are prerequisites before you get what you want. You have to train your nafs before you get what you want. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam gave him a zikr to recite, and he recited that for over a year. Why? So his nafs could be trained for the next dua to be recited. For the next dua to be recited. For the next zikr to be recited. These duas, the Imams are teaching us why. They're teaching us because this is the best way for us to get what we need, to get what we require. For us, it does not mean that this is the same dua that the Imam has to recite to get what he wants or what he needs. No. The Imams are at a different level, we're at a different level. Each one of us in this room are at completely different levels of Iman. It might be possible that Imam, if he's here now, if we all ask for the same exact thing, if we all ask to become a billionaire, for example, Imam, he might give one individual one dua to read, he might give another individual a different dua to read, a third individual a third dua to read. Why? Because all of us are at different levels of Iman. It's not necessary that one dua works for everyone. And you see this in real life. Some people, they read Ziyat Ashura. They complain that, you know what, it didn't work. Other people, they read Ziyat Ashura. They're happy it worked for them. They're happy it worked for. Why did it not work for one individual but it worked for another? It's possible that that individual who it did not work for, they weren't ready to recite Ziyat Ashura yet. The prerequisites was not met. This is how these du'as work. But you have individuals questioning dua tawassul. But inshallah, one whole lecture will be on that dua and the benefit, not just the benefits or what people have received from reciting that dua. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One of the things that we all have to remember, and this is where I'm going to end my lecture off, is that when it comes to backbiting, when it comes to tale-telling, when it comes to lying, these three vices, these three sins are the most prevalent sins in any society. Tale-telling, backbiting, and lying. You might think, hey, you know what, they're this. No, they're not the same, they're all complete, they're different. But these three vices, these three sins are the most prevalent in any society. In any society. And these are the three most prevalent in every society. And you see that it's these three sins, these three vices, that cause so much fitna in the world. All the fitna that starts in the world is because of one of these three. It's because of one of these three. And yes, these three, they have their own roots. And that's another topic. Those are topics for Ramadan maybe. But even these three sins, they have roots. But the troubles of the world, you see them, they come from either lying, backbiting, or tale-telling. And this is why the Holy Prophet, what's the narration when it comes to backbiting? The most famous narration of the Holy Prophet. Eating, that's the verse of the Quran. Backbiting, when it comes to backbiting, that's the verse of the Quran. Backbiting is that if you're eating the flesh of your, not just brother, of your dead brother. Not just brother. Eating the flesh of your dead brother. But the most famous narration of the Holy Prophet, what does backbiting do in regards to your good deeds? You give them away, yes. But backbiting eats up good deeds the way that fire burns wood. The way that fire burns wood. And you have this narration in regards to other sins too. And when it comes to backbiting, the narrations, they state that on the Day of Judgment, an individual will look at his book of deeds, and this individual will say, Ya Allah, I don't see some of the good deeds that I've done. I don't see some of the good deeds that I've done. That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, that's because the good deeds that you did do, we gave them to that individual who you were backbiting. Who you were backbiting. Another individual will see in their book, Ya Allah, there's some amal here that I never did, but I have credit for him here. Why is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, those are the amal, those are the deeds that individual who was backbiting you did, so I gave those good deeds to you. I gave those good deeds to you. Can you imagine what we will be on that day when we are all looking for? What will we do on the Day of Judgment? Look at the Quran. We'll go to our parents, we'll ask them. The parents will come to us, they'll ask us. We'll go to our friends, we'll ask them for help. The only thing that will help us on the Day of Judgment is our book of deeds, our good deeds, and Ahlul Bayt. That's it. Our book of deeds and the Ahlul Bayt. But before the Ahlul Bayt help, what will we be doing? We'll be going from individual to individual asking for help. No one will help. No one. Where every individual will say, when we ask, can I have some good deeds? Every individual will say, no, I'm in need of them myself. On that day, you open your book gets open and you don't see some of the good deeds that you did. For example, going on ziyarah. Ziyarah Arba'in. For example, going for Umrah. Can you imagine? spending thousands of dollars for Umrah, and then you open your book of deeds and you don't even see it? You don't even see it here? Waste of thousands of dollars, and you don't even see. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our sins. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Imam Zaman. Let us, our families, and anyone that's willing to sacrifice their life for him and his cause be able to sacrifice their life for him and his cause. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Once again, please, brothers, sisters. Once again, please, brothers and sisters, recite Surah Fatiha for the Manumeen, whose names are on the wall in the back, and for the Mehdi brothers' father, who's Sheikh Bashir Hussain. Please recite Surah Fatiha for all of them. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim wa lad-dallin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. اللهم اغفرهم وارحمهم واسقهم جوار محمد وآل محمود. شفاك فيكم. مریض کون ہے؟ مریض کون ہے؟ نام کیا ہے؟ Haya Batul. Please, brothers and sisters, there is a child, their name is Haya Batul. Recite 5 times Ayat al-Karima for their well-being. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. Amma yujibu al-mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifus. Amma yujibu al-mustarra iza da'ahu wa yakshifus. عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء عما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. يا الله بحق محمد وآل محمد give her شفاء.
السلام عليك يا سيد المرسلين. السلام عليك يا رحمة للعالمين. السلام عليك يا حجة الله في العالمين. السلام عليك الذي دنا فتدلى فكان قاب قوسين أو أدنى. السلام عليك يا حبيبنا وحبيب إله رب العالمين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفة الله. السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا سار الله وابن ساره بالوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرز به. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الإسلام الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة. لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مظلمات ثيابها. أشهد أنك من دائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. أشهد أنك إمام البر تقي الرضي زكي العادي المهدي. أشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة تقوى وعلام الهدى والغربة الوسطى وحجة الأهل الدنيا. أشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياء ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبي بكم موقن بشرع ديني وخواتم أمري قلبي لقلبكم سلم أمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم على أرواحكم على أجسادكم على إسلامكم على شاهدكم على غائبكم على ظاهركم على باطنكم بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتحيت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله قصدوا حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك. أسأل الله بشأن الذي لك عند ومحل الذي لك لدائه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا مغيث الشيعة والزوار في يوم الجزاء. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك أيها المدفون بأرض توت وأبنائك الأربعة وآبائك السبعة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان يا قامي الكفر والطغيان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجن الله من أنصارك وأعوانك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.